How on earth have we got to 3 episodes of AEW Dynamite already? It feels like only yesterday when we were sitting around going, what are Cody Rhodes going to do? And what are the Young Bucks are going to do? And now they have a flagship wrestling program that everybody loves because it's like a new toy that you get at Christmas. But to find out whether it was good or whether it was bad, there's only one thing we have to do, and you know how it goes. We take the finger of power, we take the fop, and we give the good bits up, and we give the bad bits a down. And that's red. Don't moan about it. Let's up those downs. A cheap biased up to start because this sign was in the crowd. You know how happy that makes me? Do you know how much I appreciate it this much? And I can't get my arms any wider than this to the point they're actually sticking out of like the framing of the shot. Up. Then I tell you, the start to AEW Dynamite was a little bit like a surprise birthday party because we had the intro, we had the pyrotechnics, then SCU's music was playing, but before they were able to get to the ring, the Lucha brothers were attacking them and absolutely whooping their ass. Give it up. Christopher Daniels even got package pile drivered on the outside when referees, officials, and even the Young Bucks were out there to see if he was okay. It was quite clear that he definitely was not okay. Then Scorpio Sky arrived on the scene because he hadn't come out with his teammates and he was like, put me in the match, I will go hard and heavy. We then finally did get the revised SCU taking on the Best Friends, and what a name that is. I mean, I even got a text message this week, and this is true, and it literally said, Miller, is there actually a team in professional wrestling called the Best Friends? You damn right there is, I replied. Sounds like I'm reading you a novel. Anywho, this was a very good tag team match between two very good teams. Yeah. It didn't hit the highs of the opener 7 days ago, but with the angle beforehand and the crowd being so electric, it just ticked a lot of boxes. Also, at one point, Chuck Taylor took off Scorpio Sky's shoe and bit his foot, so it had everything you could have possibly wanted. On those 2 notes, when Scorpio Sky did get his shoe back, the crowd just erupted as if they'd seen Andre the Giant slam Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. Can we please bring in a rule that if you go to a wrestling show, you have to react and make this much noise? It just makes everything so much better. SCU were then able to finally get a bit of fortune for the evening because they did score the win, which means they go forward in the tag team tournament. They hit some weird like powerbomb dropkick thing, and it didn't go exactly according to plan, but who cares? A win is a win, and this was just all action all the time, and it helps you get into it. Who knows what's next? I do. I think the final is going to be SCU versus the Lucha Brothers, but anything can change. We then got something new for AEW, a squash match. Who would have thunk it? Should not have done that. Up. It was another tag match, which was a nice switch to what we usually see on wrestling TV, and it was Santana and Ortiz taking on John Silva, who sounded like a pirate, and some guy called Alex something. His name was Alex Reynolds. I don't keep notes down there. You saw me look, but it's all in your head. Honestly, they got mullered too until the former LAX hit that move they do, where one's on the other's shoulders and the other one does a flip. It's kind of like a backwards cutter. It is absolutely badass. And within the space of a week, Santana and Ortiz come across like the hottest thing of all of professional wrestling. That's all you got to do. Push people. Can't remember if I gave it an up. Of course it gets it up. We then had back-to-back promo videos, and I gotta tell you, you're just gonna have to forgive me. This was some really good stuff. But it was just the execution and the delivery of these that made them so good, although I do have an asterisk point for one of them, which we'll get to in a second. But the first was Chris Jericho on the big screen, and he was standing in front of an AEW logo with his championship belt, and he was saying how good Santana and Ortiz are, and that they are on such a roll they want to take on the Young Bucks at full gear. And he laughed a bit because he's crazy and maniacal. And then that transitioned into a hype video for Cody versus Jericho at said pay-per-view. And my word, was this some spine-tinglingly good stuff. It featured Cody Rhodes' mom, DDP, and MGF, and the idea here was that Cody Rhodes has never had a shot at a word title since he was in the other place, but now it's his time, and now he is absolutely obsessed with it, and if he doesn't beat Chris Jericho for said goal, he may never be able to get past it. Like, we saw him trying to do backstage stuff here, or business stuff, but he can't get his head in this game because he can only think about the Painmaker. I mean, if you're trying to make something feel like a big deal, this is absolutely how you go about it. The production values were through the roof. Look, I'm not getting into this now, but WWE, yes, also does these very well, but hey, AEW is doing them in their own way, and they're also just making me feel like a bouquet of roses, and everyone likes a bouquet of roses. With that said, just rewinding things a little bit to my asterisk point, I think we've got to put some promo rules in place, because when Jericho was on the big screen doing his thing, Ortiz and Santana were stood on the rampway, and they just kept shouting, "The best, the best, the best." Now that is getting it down, and if you don't understand why that would get it down, I'm just going to replicate that situation for you now. Because when the pay-per-view comes around, I am going to stare you in the face. I'm going to take my boot and I'm going to stick it up your rectum. You don't know how that feels. I promise you that on the 19th of November you will. And nobody in the history of the world has ever enjoyed a boot going up their ass. Annoying, right? I couldn't hear any of this properly, and I know I'm being a baby. I know I'm throwing my stuff out of the pram, but still, I sat there, I couldn't hear a damn thing. I couldn't hear a damn thing going on, but I knew, like, exciting stuff was happening, but I couldn't let it enter my soul. And it's really important that when I'm watching wrestling, my soul gets its fix. So just turn LAX down, damn it, or remind them, hey, when someone else is talking, don't talk too. It's called manners. Despite this only being the third week of Dynamite 2, we were then getting a women's world title match. Now, we can't do this each and every week. You've got to balance things out eventually, but it did give the show a big league feel. It was Britt Baker versus Riho, and my word is our champion over like Rover, whoever that is. But the crowd reacts as soon as she comes out. They pop for all of her moves. We have a star in the making. And that's not to say that Britt Baker doesn't get love, she does, but it ain't in the same space as Riho. It's probably because at one point, to get out of a pin, she kind of like limboed her way up from it. Like she became a crab and like just stuck out of the space and like contorted her body. I don't think I've ever seen that before. We also found out that Britt's bizarre new submission is called the lockjaw, which makes sense because, again, she is a dentist, she likes the jaw, and she likes teeth, and we all know how much Riho enjoys going after her double knees, and that was kind of the war here at the start. It was like, can I get the lockjaw in? No. Can I smash her in the face with double knees? Kinda. As for the finish, what did I tell you? You all roll your eyes, and some of you get mad at me because you're like, Simon, that wasn't a roll-up, it was a cradle, even though you know what I'm saying. But when Britt Baker did lock in said lockjaw, Riho used the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling, the surprise roll-up or the surprise pin or the surprise, whatever you want to call it. Baker wasn't ready though. 1, 2, 3, Riho is still your women's champion. All wrestlers should start doing this because it never ever fails. I'm absolutely going to incorporate as my finisher in my wrestling career. I'm going to be all the champions before you even know it. There was nothing but good vibes afterwards as the two shook hands, and this was just a very nice, very entertaining wrestling match. I mean, I could probably do without commentary reminding me 99,422 times that Riho is of smaller stature, but what are you going to do? We also found out at this juncture that Christopher Daniels is going to be okay, and earlier on in the evening he had only suffered a stinger. And you say he's going to be okay, yeah, okay, physically maybe, but mentally, he's probably going to be pissed off for a long damn time. And then I don't think I've ever been so sad watching All Elite Wrestling, because it was time for the Lucha Express, and while I love Jungle Boy, and while I love Marco Stunt, there was no Luchasaurus. And there was meant to be a Luchasaurus, but as the internet told us, it sounds like he hurt his hamstring and had to sit this one out. I had a whole thing planned. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait until the man does debut on AEW Dynamite, but I want you to know two things. One, I'm heartbroken by this, but two, I send nothing but love and nothing but all healthy thoughts to my Jurassic friend, and I hope he gets better soon. But you know the rule, you know the law, nothing is changing. Dino down. Like I say, it did mean that Marco Stunt took his place. He, of course, was teamed with Jungle Boy, aka Jungle Jack Perry, as Jim Ross is desperate to name him. They were taking on the Lucha Brothers. This was awesome. It started with Stunt and Pentagon almost doing comedy, or at least something that was a bit hoo-hoo ha-ha, and then everybody went, screw the tag team rules, and they all went absolutely ballistic, and there was a bunch of dives, a bunch of flips, and a bunch of moves. But again, if you watch this and got mad of it, we go back to the pizza analogy. If you happily walk into a pizza restaurant and you order a pizza and you go, oh, cheese, I don't like cheese, I didn't want cheese on my pizza, then you have no one to blame but yourself. This is what AEW does. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It's simple. Look at my weird hands. It'd be like watching Raw and being horrified that it was 3 hours long. It's just a deal nowadays. You have to accept it. You have to let it in, like Bray Wyatt. Honestly though, this had absolutely everything, including Stunt getting his ass kicked a lot. He was able to get a flurry at one point and get the hot tag to Jungle Boy, And that man, or that boy I should say, is an absolute star because the crowd lost their damn minds. Experience won out here though, which I kind of dug, because you're telling this narrative that Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt still have a long way to go. But indeed, Marco got caught in the package pile driver stomp finish thing that they do. Pentagon got the pin, and they're going through to the semi-finals. And again, if the finals now aren't SCU versus Lucha Brothers, I clearly don't understand storytelling. We then transitioned into Jon Moxley and PAC taking on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I mean, that's not exactly bad, is it? We got a Moxley promo beforehand who said that he wanted to take Omega's head and mount it on his wall. So let's just break that down and realize that what the former Dean Ambrose wants to do is, yes, take Kenny's skull or whatever, chop it off, and then rather than try and hide his crime from the police, he will showcase the evidence in his house. Okay. What was cool was this idea that in AEW, we don't really have so-called good guys or bad guys, and Cody has mentioned that in interviews in the past. I mean, Jon Moxley walks the line anyway, but before this match has started, Hangman Page and Kenny Omega jumped their opponents, and if someone busted in here right now with a gun and went, "Simon, what do you think about all of this?" As always, they'd be like, "Bro, calm down. I talk about wrestling all the time. You don't have to threaten me," but my point would be, I kind of see Hangman and Kenny as the good guys, but here, they just wanted to get the attack on as soon as they could. Good. In terms of the content, I didn't realize that 4 dudes could just go for an entire wrestling match. Well, that's not true. I presumed that's what they would do, but it really did feel like they were trying to prove a point. I say mission accomplished. It was good anyways, but it lit up when Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley were finally left in the ring one-on-one, and they started to smash each other with forearms, and I was surprised that skin didn't fall off their face until Kenny hit a V-trigger and he went for another one, and Moxley had enough, so he slammed him with a lariat instead. It's a bit like jousting, and then we got back to this thing of barbed wire bat versus barbed wire broom or barbed wire mop or whatever, but that really pissed off PAC, which I can understand, because he saw what his tag team partner was about to do, and he just took it off him and he threw it out the ring because he was like, "John, what are you doing? We're going to get disqualified. I don't want to lose." And you know why he didn't want to lose? Because wins and losses matter. That didn't work out too well for him, because then Moxley attacked his own partner, left him lying in the ring, and he just left because he was like, "To hell with this." The man that gravity forgot then realized he was in a lot of bother, and he got V-triggered, he got buckshotted, if that is a word, and then pinned. He lost because he just wanted to try and keep things on the up and narrow. Once again, then, we have set up so many different paths, and before we even got to the end of the show, AEW were telling us that next week on The Thing, we are going to get Jon Moxley versus PAC. That is all right by me. Which brings us to our main event, which did have the AEW Championship on the line. And as I mentioned earlier, you probably could have saved this for a different show. It was so packed. But again, it kind of made it feel like you're watching a pay-per-view. Now, was this the best new version Chris Jericho match I've seen? No, but did he go out of his way to make Darby Allin feel like an up-and-coming star? Yes. And did Darby Allin take that opportunity and smash it out the park? You damn right he did. The real shift was when Jericho got so annoyed with him he just tied his arms behind his back, but that only seemed to, will Darby Allin on, because he started to do all these moves without his hands and somehow didn't kill himself. I mean, he even climbed to the top rope. Do you know how hard it is to climb to the top rope even when you have your hands available? And Darby Allin seemed to move better without his limbs. He just has something special about that guy. I can't get over it. Everything still looked so small, and he didn't have any damn arms. It really was quite the sight, even to Chris Jericho, who thought he would stop Darby by getting his skateboard and powerbombing him onto it. I mean, that skateboard has caused more damage and more devastation over the last week than anything else. At one point, it actually seemed like Allin was going to hit his coffin drop finish and win the championship too, until that dag Jake Hager came out of nowhere and pushed him off the top rope. That allowed Jericho to hook in the walls of Jericho. Of course, Darby couldn't tap out because he didn't have any hands, so we had to verbally say he quit, but he did. Chris Jericho is still your world champion, and the Inner Circle are still in control. The rest of the posse then came out to celebrate with a bit of the bubbly. I don't know, you could be really pedantic with this and go, well, if it was a no disqualification match, why would Jack Hager wait 20 minutes before getting involved? But if we do that, wrestling is just going to become a pile of nonsense. I smell NWO here, and I mean that in a complimentary way. The Inner Circle, they can't be stopped right now. Who the hell is going to be able to do it? WCW. Obviously not, that didn't work. don't do what they did and don't let the Inner Circle win for the next 200 years, eventually, AEW will have to get the victory. But as long as you tell me a good story, I will be a happy chap. What I will say is that after last week, when Jericho probably stole the whole episode with his in-ring promo, I kind of feel like we could have more in-ring promos. We had a lot of on-screen promos, but not the same as actually putting somebody in the ring and letting the crowd react to them and kind of seeing if they're going to sink or swim. And that would work for me. I mean, don't overdo it. Balance is everything. I'm not saying that everybody can be at the level of Chris Jericho. He is one of the best ever, but I do feel like it's an area AEW needs to do more of. It would just add a bit of sprinkling to the show. For that reason, there's a doubt. However, that is now 3 for 3 as far as I'm concerned, and AEW Dynamite is an incredibly entertaining wrestling show that knows who it's going after and knows what kind of product it wants to put out there. And it's just smashing it to bits, if I'm completely honest. So get my arrow up, give it an up. I'm already excited to see what they're going to do next week. And that's all I want from a wrestling show. Keep me excited, keep me invested. Hoo-ha. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought last night about the show and get mad about all the things that I've said. I know how it works. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE. Gold Dust, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you Saturday when we up those downs for Smackadown.